Enough is enough because we know we can do things about this.
The president and the new mayor of New York City joining forces today against the alarming surge in gun violence.
The answer is not to abandon our streets. The answer is to come together, the police and communities, building trust and making us all safer.
The two trying to work around gridlock in Washington. President Biden pushing Congress to approve an additional $300 million for cities across the country.
The president is here because he knows what the American people want: justice, safety, and prosperity. And they deserve every bit of it. It's about rebuilding our society. It's not just locking people up.
The president touching down in the city just one day after the funeral for 27-year-old NYPD officer Wilbert Mora, who was recently gunned down in the line of duty. The same scene last week for Mora's partner, 22-year-old Jason Rivera.
The system continues to fail us. We are not safe anymore. But I promise, we promise, that your death won't be in vain.
Across the country, ABC reporting found at least a dozen cities with record homicide numbers in 2021. And since the start of this year, more than 1,600 people have died because of gun violence. Among those caught in the crossfire, 8-year-old Melissa Ortega, hit by 2 stray bullets while out on a walk with her mother in Chicago. In New Jersey, 18-year-old Robert Quadra, killed by a stray bullet while carrying groceries to his grandmother's home.
He didn't deserve a bullet to the head. He didn't deserve that at all.
And just this week, 2 officers killed in a shooting at a college campus in Bridgewater, Virginia. Adams, a former police officer himself, unveiled a sweeping new plan to deal with crime in America's biggest city.
We will ramp up enforcement, deploy more officers on the streets and in the subways, and get our courts at full capacity.
But that plan includes an anti-gun unit, which some worry will be a replica of the NYPD's controversial anti-crime unit, which was disbanded in 2020.
I think language is important. I think they've changed the name, but when people hear the name plainclothes, they think of some very high-profile cases in which those units were associated with killing unarmed people who live in this city. And that's a concern.
New York City public advocate Jumaane Williams says he agrees with most of the mayor's proposed plan, but fears some parts will once again target communities of color.
The gun violence is happening in Black and brown communities every single day. There's many people who are questioning how that unit is going to be used, what it's going to do that police aren't already doing.
Earlier tonight, I spoke to New York Mayor Eric Adams. Mr. Mayor, thank you for taking the time to talk with us tonight.
Thank you very much. It's good to see you.
Thank you, sir. Let's start with your meeting with the president today. With no prospective movement in Washington on gun control legislation, what is it that you're looking for Biden to do to cut down on crime in New York City and cities all across the country?
I say this over and over again, that there are many rivers that is flowing into the sea of violence, and we have to dam each river, as the president agreed and stated. And the federal government is one of those rivers that we must dam. We need to increase our funding to ATF so they can give us the sources of these guns that are coming into our city and cities. We need to also put in place what he committed to do, and he did do, and that is the coordination of city, state, and federal agencies, sort of a 911 response. And lastly, his call for Congress to increase funding to those crisis management groups on the ground here.
You were sworn in as New York City mayor just barely a month ago, and your department has already buried 2 of its own. New Yorkers are scared, and you don't have time for politics and waiting for action. What are your biggest priorities to cut down on gun violence now in New York City?
I laid out my blueprint to end gun violence, and I'm hoping that all on the state, federal, and city level will look at it and do their part. I need help from Albany. We need to send a clear message that you can't carry a gun, exposed or not. You're going to be treated like an adult in criminal court. But I'm also going to deal with the immediate causes of violence in our city. We're going to institute an anti-gun unit, do precision policing, well-trained officers, going after the trigger pullers and those who are participating in gang behavior.
Many of your fellow mayors in other cities have said we need to cut off the iron pipeline of guns. But how do you realistically stop that flow of illegal weapons on trains, buses, and tens of thousands of cars driving into New York City every single day? It sounds great on paper, but is it possible?
Yes, it is possible. Too many guns are coming from the southern part of the country, flowing into the cities across America: Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York City. And if we partner correctly, then we can get the ATF to identify those dealers that are illegally distributing these guns, and we can stop the flow of guns in our cities.
Your blueprint to end gun violence, which includes reinstating the anti-crime unit, which you mentioned, and plainclothes officers that some say use racial profiling to stop people on the streets. So how do you strike a balance between policing and community building when you're bringing back a program that for many is so highly controversial?
We're not bringing back the anti-crime unit. This is not going to be a plainclothes unit. This is an anti-gun unit where the officers are going to have a modified police uniform, and they're going to be in unmarked vehicles. And so this is not going to be that style of abusive policing. I testified as a police officer in federal court to call out the problems with the former anti-crime unit. This is my life work of balancing public safety and justice. We can have the justice we deserve and the safety we need. Every interaction is going to be on video camera, where the supervisors are going to review them. We will send the right message that we can have the right balance. And we're going to partner with our crisis management teams on the ground to give them the resources to deal with the feeders of crime in our city and in our country.
Mr. Mayor, thank you so very much for your time, sir, and we will see you down the road.
Thank you. Take care.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.